Hey, it's editing me. I just wanted to pop in and say that I know the video is in black and white, my laptop does not film in color, and I can't change that or fix it. I also wanted to point out that I will be talking about suicide, death, murder, some pretty heavier topics in this video, so if that's not something that you jive with, feel free to click off and I'll see you at the next book review. And that's about all I have to say, so enjoy.
Okay. I have a couple of housekeeping things that I want to quickly run through before I start on my whole spiel. First off, I don't have my contacts in or my glasses on because the glare that these bad boys give off from me using my laptop as my lighting and camera setup is so bad you cannot see my eyes whatsoever unless I was like 3/4, which I'm not gonna do. Secondly, my cat is laying next to me on the bed, so if you hear him chirp randomly, you can either just ignore it or you can acknowledge it and tell me how cute he is, even though you can't see him. Third, my fan is on, and I did not secure my bangs or most of my hair, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. Fourth off, I don't think there is a fourth. I think we're good to go. I also like to preface this by saying that I don't really have a lot of people offline in my life that I can really talk about literature to the way that I want to. That is important to me because I love literature and I've loved reading since I was a little kid. The whole hyperlexic thing or whatever, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that's what I had when I was a child. Without further ado, let's get to screaming about this because I have some opinions, I have some thoughts that I want to share, and I'm so excited. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this. Before I say anything, first of all, I know, but I recently read and finished The Picture of Dorian Gray at the very ripe age of 22, which is not old, by the way. I recently switched majors from mortuary science to history, and if you don't know anything about history, as a degree, it involves a lot of reading, and I spend like 12 hours a day reading textbooks and primary sources and secondary sources, and pleasure reading sounds diabolical at the end of these days. This book has been on my TBR for at least a year and a half now. I just never got around to it because I was so busy with other stuff and other books that I wanted to read. First and foremost, I was trying my hand at fantasy, and I just need to get better recommendations. I don't know. This book has fundamentally changed me as a person, and I finished this the day that I listened to Unreal Unearth. I am not the same person that I was on that day, coming out of that day, and since then I have not been the same. This book is so good, and I like that it's not a super long read. My copy is only 220 pages. I know some copies are a little bit more, some are a little bit less. What the fuck, first of all? What the hell? This is gonna have a lot of spoilers in it. I should clarify that now. So if you don't want to be spoiled on this book, then go away. I love you, but leave. Okay? Cool. If you're still here because you want the spoilers or you've also read the book, you cannot look me in the eyes after reading this book and tell me that any of the main men are 100% heterosexual. Look me in my eyes, look me in my queer eye, and tell me that these men don't got a little wobble in their walk. Literally, Basil confesses to Dorian that he was smitten by him. The way that Henry or Harry talks about Dorian, oh my god, these men are so good. And the fact that Dorian never gets married, neither does Basil. Basil is a confirmed bachelor. If you don't know anything about queer history or queer hidden identification, I know that there's a word for it and it's just escaping me right now. I'll probably just put it up on the screen whenever I get around to editing this video. Victorian England, confirmed bachelor was a term used to describe generally a man that was gay, but like low-key. Basil's a confirmed bachelor. Dorian never gets married on account of debauchery. I can't take myself seriously talking about this. This is like a gossip rag but historical. This is the kind of book that I've been looking for months. I have wanted to read juicy, salacious novels, but I don't really like most modern books in the way that they do that because I don't think that it's not the same. The drama that comes from classic books will never be topped. I try to read modern books and it just doesn't work for me. I mean, I love modern books. I have my favorites and everything, but like when it comes to the drama, especially anything written by Oscar Wilde, anything written by men like him is going to have me speechless. I mean, I'm struggling to form words. The book has occupied too much of my brain, and I only don't appreciate it a little bit because I have so much reading to do for my class and I can't focus because I'm thinking about this book. And I tell you, the amount of times that I was reading this book and I put it down and I audibly said, "What the fuck?" Or, "God, that is so kind." Like, this book is like my page 6. I fucking love this book. This satisfied my want for gossip. This is my E! News. This is my Perez Hilton early 2000s type of tabloid in a book. I don't even know how to begin. I'm so bad at book reviews. When you connect what happens to James, I had nobody to scream at about it except to my cat. He didn't give a fuck. I mean, he likes me enough to like be next to me and like sleep next to me in bed all the time. You see that go off? No, you didn't. Can you see how much I enjoyed reading this book? Do I dislike Dorian Gray? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do I think that he is a perpetual man-child that needed to be told to shut the fuck up once in a while? Absolutely. Do I actively despise Henry? Yeah. I want to sucker punch that bitch in the face. The way he talks about women, I'm like, bro. Then he's like, "Oh yeah, my wife and I are like finally getting divorced. Never should have gotten married." That's why I say men are heterosexual and homoerotic. Poor Basil. That man did not deserve what happened to him. I'm still annoyed about it. I think Dorian got what he deserved in the end. Poor Sybil. The way that he treated Sybil. Oh my god, that theater scene. Speaking of Sybil, I get really bad secondhand embarrassment, as you can probably tell. I had to put this book down for a day because the secondhand embarrassment that I got from it. I was a theater kid too. I was a choir kid and a theater kid in high school. It was too much. And it also made me realize I would not have survived being a theater kid in the late 1870s. I would not have made it. I would have rather died. You know, it just is one of those things where that's how I felt the whole time. Girl, I know you're 17, but come on. It's already cringy enough being a theater kid. And for a brief moment, I understood why Dorian said what he said. But also, like, that was a terrible bitch thing to say. She didn't even know his name. She called him Prince Charming. Which I think is the only reason why James ever stayed alive for, like, 20 more years. And then he gets fucking taken out by the same guy who, like, essentially killed his sister. Oh my god, Dorian's body count is 3! Dorian's body count is 3 at the end of this novel. 4 if you count himself. But I don't think that was planned. I think that was an accidental thing. No, it's 5. I almost forgot about Alan. I've never read a book or a story about a guy who's managed to kill 5 people in 20 years. Doesn't that make him a serial killer by, like, definition? Yeah, I'm gonna put my glasses on for a second. And you're also gonna kind of see why I took them off. Hold on. Lighting change. What constitutes as a serial killer? This looks so suspicious. The FBI agents watching this. A person who murders 3 or more people in 2 or more separate events over a period of time for primarily psychological reasons. There are gaps of time between the killings, which may range from a few days to months or many years. I would argue, if we use that definition, that Dorian Gray is a serial killer. This bitch is a serial killer. Think about it. Technically, the suicides were not his fault. James's death was not his fault. but like I kind of want to put it to be his fault. That's how much I dislike him. But he's kind of camp. I can't fully hate him for that. Okay, so if we count the death toll of this book from beginning to end, we have Sybil Vane, suicide, and then we have Basil Howard, knifed, stabbed, behind the ear too. And then we have Alan Campbell, which I feel like was glossed over way too fucking quickly. That guy got blackmailed by Dorian. We never know the contents of the letter. My own little theory about this is that Dorian and Alan were like in a relationship, and Dorian threatened to expose that in the letter, and that's why Campbell was like kind of sick after he read the letter contents. Because if Campbell was revealed to be homosexual at that time, he had a huge social standing and a huge academic standing. If he was revealed to have been involved with a man romantically and sexually, because sodomy was also illegal at this time, which is what Oscar Wilde was jailed for. More on him a little bit later. Campbell would have been either jailed, well, most likely he would have been jailed. He would have been stripped of everything he had ever worked for. He would have lost his home, all his friends. Like, this would have ruined him. And I think that's what was in the letter, because why else would he have had such a visceral reaction to the contents of it if it wasn't for that? So, Campbell kills himself after he helps Dorian, and he tells Dorian, he was like, I never want to see you again, which to me is like an ex. You never want to see an ex ever again. We have Sybil, Basil, and Alan. I don't want to put James as a victim of Dorian, because Dorian didn't technically kill him. It was one of the guys that Dorian was with when they were like in the countryside or whatever. Also, right through the chest. God, at least it was instantaneous, I think. So like that puts the death toll up at 4. 5 if you count Dorian killing himself. But again, I don't think that was on purpose. Kind of ambiguously said. So I don't know. I really don't know. Also, fuck Lord Henry Wotton. I really hate that man. Every time he talked, I wanted him to shut up. I wanted to sew a zipper to his lips. Zoop. You know? And I just want to shut up, stop fucking talking. Then he would just go on these pages of rambles and rants, and I'm like, you make me want to gouge my eyes out. You make me want to gouge my eyes out. Stop talking. He's the one that started all of this. Dorian would have never have done that had Henry not talked to him in the garden that day. The fact that being of age was 21 at this time is very interesting to me, because now of age is 18 in most places. I know in Japan it's culturally 20. In the US it's really considered 21, but in England it was 21. Just because you were 18 didn't mean shit. I mean, it still doesn't mean shit now. You can't really do anything with that. I mean, you can vote, you can sign the lease on an apartment. That's really about it. You can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't rent a car until you're like 25 in the US. But in the military, you can have a drink if you're 18 on base. Back to the book. This is such a frazzled, scatterbrained review, but I just needed to get it out. It's stream of consciousness. I'm babbling. I don't even care at this point. Speaking of babble, I bought the book. Very excited for that. If you do look at my Goodreads, you will see that I am notorious for not giving books very high ratings, because I'm just being honest that most of the books that I've read, I haven't liked that much. Have I gotten a lot of them from the internet? Yeah. But this book, I gave this book 5 stars, even though I despise one of the main characters. And I really dislike the main character. I dislike him most of the time. I don't really have that much of an opinion on Basil, now that I think about it. He was just gaily pining for Dorian. That's all I got. It is so thoroughly entertaining to watch a man disintegrate from the weight of his own decisions. And I love that. I love seeing a man get what he deserves. And that was this book. Was it a little hard to read some of the passages? Yes. Some of it I was like, okay, I get it. You have these views, but that mostly falls on me. That doesn't really fall on Oscar Wilde because he is a fantastic author. Then on reading De Profundis, the fact that this only genuine novel that he ever published is like a crime because he died of meningitis. De Profundis was a 100-page letter that he wrote while he was in jail. He really wrote it to his lover, Lord Alfred Douglas. The rest, his trial, his imprisonment was extremely controversial because he was married and had 2 kids. He was married to Constance Lloyd and cheated on her. And he's a whole bitch for that. But Oscar Wilde was pretty cool. Anyways, this was a very unplanned, spontaneous thoughts review, I guess, of this book. I didn't think I was going to be making this video, but I actually kind of enjoyed doing it, so maybe I'll make some more of these. I do plan on reading more. I have actually read quite a lot of books this year. I've read like 34 books so far. I've only DNF'd 2 of them, which I feel pretty proud of. It's only September. My goal is to read 50 books this year. I've been very busy with school and my health, which makes it hard for me to read sometimes. But I very much enjoyed this novel, and I think it's actually a really good novel to get into classic literature with because the language isn't so far away from our own language, like modern English, because I think there's stages of classic literature language, and the further back you go, the harder I think it is to understand a lot of it, especially if you don't know the historical time that these take place in. To me, it's why the Canterbury Tales was so hard for me to get through in high school. I'm trying to read Pride and Prejudice right now, but I'm not as familiar with Regency England as I am with Victorian and even Edwardian England. I'm more familiar with American history, but of course I am. I very much enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed speaking and rambling my little heart out. I think I like this style of video. It's a lot less formal. I get to just talk about whatever the fuck I want. I very much enjoyed this. TikTok and this channel are really the only places to find me. You can also find my Goodreads too. It is now 6:15 in the morning. I have been speaking for a long time. Thank you for listening to me ramble. And once again, this book is campy, it's cunty. I'm probably gonna reread it like every year now. Also, if you have any books that are like this in terms of gossip rag that are classic lit, let me know. Anyways, I will see you guys next time, whenever that is. I don't know. Okay, bye.